Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing very well. My name's Chloe for those who are new here, and if you are already a subscriber then thank you so much for watching. It means the world to me. Today's video is going to be... Oh, rude. Today's video is going to be a topic that I feel like everyone should be able to talk about openly and freely and not be ashamed. I feel like we can all relate in some way or another, but this topic especially is very personal to me and had a lot to do with who I am as a person now. So if you guys are interested then please keep on watching. So I wanted to do like a get to know me type video, but not just like your bog standard get to know me video, you know, where it's like what's your favourite colour, or like who's your favourite musician, or who's your favourite actor, or who's your woman crush. Like, I don't really like, obviously like you guys may want to know those things, but I feel like there's so much more to me as a person, what actually makes me me. Yeah, does that make sense? I hope it makes sense, because it makes sense in my head. I wanted to basically do like a really get into the nitty gritty, like you know, there's a lot of things that you know I've experienced, you know, and I'm only 23 years old. I'll be 24 this year though. Oh, getting so old. But like I feel like there's been quite a lot of situations that I've experienced, and I guess in a lot of ways it's, yeah, it makes me who I am, and I want you guys to actually get to know me for me. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I am really scared to upload this video onto the internet for the whole entire world to see. But then again, I think, you know what, there are so many people out there, I'm sure, that can relate, and are or have gone through similar circumstances to me. Anyway, let's get into the video. Okay, first things first, for those who don't know, my name is Chloe, and I was born on the 10th of September, and I was born in the year 1995, in North Ayrshire, on the west coast of Scotland. My mum is called Elizabeth and my dad was called Alexander, but everyone that we knew called him Sandy. That's just what he was called. So but before my mum and dad met, they had both previously been married, so that means that I have two half sisters and one half brother. Well, I actually have two half brothers. One of them I've never met before. He lives in Scotland somewhere, I'm not quite sure where he lives. I've never met him in my life. I've spoke to him on Facebook like once or twice, but you know, it's kind of, I mean, you know, it is what it is. My family is like Jeremy Kyle. Like, as far as I can remember, I don't actually remember like the earliest memories. A lot of people that I know can remember like when they were like 2, and I'm like, what? I can't remember. It seems that I've actually blocked out like the first 12 or so years of my life, and we'll get into that. I have notes, by the way, so because there's a lot to get through. I'm really anxious to talk about this, guys, but we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. Okay, so ever since I can remember, like from a child, I always knew about this situation, and I guess in a lot of ways it's caused me quite a lot of trauma. Yeah, trauma's a good word. And just a lot of issues in general, really. I mean, but let's get into it. So when I was 3 months old, there was something terrible that happened in my family. And one day my parents had noticed that basically in the front of my mouth, like here, there was blood. And my mum had already had my brother, but I guess as any normal parent would be, she just thought the worst. I don't know what obviously went through her head at that time. But I guess as a parent, you automatically assume the worst and worry. So they took me to the hospital, and they basically, well, there was literally not really that much other, there was nothing else on my body other than this bit of blood in my mouth. And as the time had gone on, I guess the doctor had started to check me over and stuff, make sure that I was okay. And yeah, I wasn't. So the injuries weren't that noticeable to begin with, and slowly but surely they became more apparent. I'm only telling you guys what I've been told by my mum. My dad never spoke about this whatsoever. Never. As a child grown up, never spoke about it. So, I mean, yeah. So obviously I'm only telling you guys what my mum and my auntie and my brother and everyone else has told me. I'm only going by what I've been told. But basically they discovered that my injuries were a lot more worse than what was apparent at that time. And basically the doctor had discovered that my jaw was broken in 3 places. My collarbone was fractured, and there was, on one of my thighs, there was like a blood clot, which can be severely dangerous. It can be fatal, especially, well, at any age. I mean, I don't even know where to begin with that. I mean, as a parent, I can only imagine, like, where have these injuries come from? And here's where it gets really, really messed up. My mum and dad, and pretty much the whole of my family, were questioned by the police. Obviously, my mum and dad were taken to court. Basically, I was then taken away from my mum and dad, and I was put into I was put into a home with foster parents for 3 months, which I know that doesn't seem like a long time really, but obviously when you're first born, when you're 3 months old, that time is so vital to be spent with, the biological mother and father, but mostly the mother, because, you come from them, you know what I'm saying. Yeah, I mean, my mum was painted out to be a monster. There was no physical evidence that it was anyone that did that. My mum on that day had literally just left the living room in our old house. I can't really remember it. But I know that the living room was here and the kitchen was right here. So it was literally like not even a foot away. But I mean, yeah, long story short, because I don't know the ins and outs of the court and all of that, but I know that my mum had to really fight tooth and nail to get me back. it really breaks my heart, to be honest. I mean, I used to always think when I was younger that my mum and dad weren't my mum and dad, and when I was like, when I got older, I was gonna get like, I was gonna get to an age and they'd be like, yeah, we're not your mum and dad, you know. And that was scary. I mean, now that I look at pictures of me and my mum, I can see that we are related. But I mean, that situation really broke my family. I mean, I don't think my mum has ever come back from that, and I can't blame her. But yeah, the judge had ruled that it was someone under the age of 16 that had done it. Now, my brother was 12, but my brother would not have done that. I mean, my brother is one of the most gentle, caring, loving type of person I know. We were very close when I was younger, because of what happened, and I think in a lot of ways it's made him, now he has his own kids, it's made him super protective of his kids. Yeah. I mean, yeah, so, I mean, I really feel like this situation was really the start of what broke my family, but most of all broke my dad. I mean, we know who the culprit was. Obviously, I'm not going to say on this video, simply, well, I don't want to get taken to court myself, so we'll just keep it at that. We know who it was. Damn it, they've admitted it. Yeah, I mean, I don't remember any of this, but this is definitely what broke my dad. I mean, I've always, since I can remember, I've always known my mum to be the most strong-minded, independent, beautiful woman I have ever come across. She is honestly everything I aspire to be as a person. Like, she honestly is just so beautifully natured. She's always been the breadwinner in the house, and that wasn't really the life that my mum wanted. You know, my mum wanted to be a stay-at-home mum and to raise her kids, but sadly, with all three of us, that never happened. So after being in foster care, my mum had fought tooth and nail to get me back to my biological mum and dad. But they decided that we were going to go to Orlando, Florida, and I guess to celebrate that they'd got me back, and also to try and sort of gain some normality in our life. And during that holiday, my dad became quite mentally unstable, and it was very apparent to my mum. My brother at the time, who was 12, you know, and this was all taking place, so my brother can remember my dad when he was not mentally ill, whereas me and my sister, we can't. All we've ever known was for my dad to be mentally unstable. And my dad, I mean, my dad never had a normal childhood whatsoever. He was in and out of care homes. His mum was an alcoholic, was always dating abusive men, chose the men over her children. I mean, it was really bad. My dad was basically feral. He was a feral child. They all were. They had to do things that are morally wrong, I guess, in order to survive. Yeah. And he didn't even know who his biological dad was, and they lived on the same street. How awful is that? I mean, it honestly just breaks my heart. But in a lot of ways, I reckon that my dad had these issues from at a young age because of his childhood. He resorted to crime, drugs, you know, and all of that, but really all he ever wanted was a family. Now, I don't want you guys watching this to sit there and think that I had a terrible childhood or I had a terrible upbringing, because I most certainly didn't. We always went on holidays. Pardon me, my auntie, if it wasn't for my auntie and my mum, you know, I wouldn't be as well travelled as I am. So thank you for that. You know, I still have a very supporting, loving family. You know, whenever I have any issues, they're always there for me. If I'm sad, I can message them. You know, my family, my brother, his wife and their kids still live in Scotland, and so does my auntie, and me, my mum and my sister live in England. You know, and throughout all of this, my mum tried to make the very best of every situation. All of the situations that me, my mum and Amber have had to go through. If it wasn't for my mum, I really don't think I'd be here. And I am getting emotional because it's such an emotional thing, you know, to talk about. Especially it being put on the internet. But my dad became extremely unstable, basically borderline insane. He was diagnosed with multiple mental health issues such as bipolar, paranoia and psychosis. I mean, I've been very lucky in a lot of ways considering how my family dynamics were. We were always going on family holidays, like I said, and trying to make the best of it. And my mum, in so many ways, tried to make my dad's life as normal for him as possible. I mean, yeah, so my mum and dad went on to have another child, my younger sister, Amber, who is almost 2 years younger than me, 22 months. And even though my dad was mentally unwell for a long time, he was medicated and could maintain a level of sanity and stability. I mean, it wasn't easy growing up with a parent who was mentally ill. There was a lot of situations that me and Amber were put in that as children we shouldn't have been put in. And for, I guess, in a lot of ways, I've blamed my dad for such a long time, because I grew up with, well, I developed a lot of issues, especially as a teenager. Well, I mean, he passed away, which in a lot of ways, and it sounds awful, I miss him so much, but in a lot of ways, because of how unstable he was, it seems like it was the only way for him to gain some sort of peace and tranquility. If that, I don't know if that sounds awful to say, but in my head it sounds normal to say. But yeah, he passed away when I was doing my GCSEs at school and Amber was 14. So he's been gone almost 10 years. No, about 8 years. 8 years now. And I mean, when he passed away, I was in complete shock, obviously. I mean, I was not expecting that whatsoever. And I remember that like it was yesterday. Me and Amber were sat at our friend's house because we'd been partying the night before, and my stepsister had phoned me, and she told me, and I just was in disbelief. I mean, after that I turned to drugs, because it was really the only way that I could cope with what was going on. It was an escape for me. It was almost as if I didn't have to, I just didn't want to deal with it. You know, I couldn't physically fathom it. I mean, still sometimes after all these years, you know, sometimes it's hard to accept that, especially when you have so many questions to ask and you know that you will never ever get the answers. You know, it's quite difficult to like fathom. I mean, I'm not as mentally I'm not mentally unstable, I would say, but I do suffer with anxiety and I do suffer with depression. So, you know, I can understand that it's not easy to live yourself as a person with mental health problems. Sometimes I think the best thing for me would be to be locked up in a room and left alone. But that, you know, that's just the depression. And it really comes in waves. I mean, I try to maintain as positive as I can, but sometimes it just doesn't happen. I can get myself into such a depressive state that sometimes I just see no way out. And it's quite scary because it's like, am I going to be like this for the rest of my life? And I mean, I wanted to make this video because it's never really something that I've spoke about on my channel, and I want you guys, you know, like the makeup tutorials and stuff, like I love doing makeup tutorials and stuff, but I want you to actually get to know me as a person, you know, like we actually are friends, like you know my whole life story basically, you know me right down to the core. Yeah, I mean, I'm really like, I really don't know what to say anymore. Like, it's not something that have spoken about, it's not something that I speak about very often. Because I always get scared that people can't relate to me, or they're gonna judge me, or they're gonna think that I come from some weird messed up family. But that's just my own fears and that's just my own insecurities. But I know deep down that there are people out there like me, and there will continue to be people out there like me who have gone through similar circumstances. And I just want you guys to know that you know, if you ever need to talk or confide in someone, just hit me up, slide into my DMs, message me on Facebook, do whatever you have to do. I am always going to be here to talk. I'm a very understanding person. I don't judge anyone. And I can relate to a lot of things because I've experienced a lot of things. But I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I know it's been a little bit of a different one. And I am quite apprehensive to put this on the internet, as I've said, but I feel like a lot of people, you know, can relate to it, like I've just said. So please don't forget to subscribe, give this video a massive thumbs up and comment down below, and I will see you guys in